So we're going to talk today about the four reasons, or four of the reasons, um, why burnout is inevitable for women. And we're going to talk about what to do about it. So, first reason, Sam. What do you say?
Okay, we have different testosterone levels compared to men. So women carry a fraction. I don't know if any of the ladies in here work around men or work for men, or you've ever worked with men, which you probably have. So we have. It's much harder for us to stay focused for a longer period of time. We'll get into why, because we do notice and we feel everything that men they have a little bit more of a laser focused vision, and we do not. So because we also have the fraction of the testosterone, that is what we need in order to um, stay on longer durations of working periods. And because we don't have that, we just get exhausted quicker. So I wanted to really make sure that we know that, just because the comparison, if you've ever worked with men, like, you're just like, how are you still going? Like, I know I've been there, and I'm just like, you are still going, and it has been like 10 hours later, and I just can't keep up sometimes. And then I start to, look in on myself, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what am I doing wrong? But it's honestly just your hormones. And to really, really notice that, and it's not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just built like that, and you're wired, and that's your biology. So giving yourself grace and finding the understanding in that. And then I do want to talk about weight training. So weight training, when you do have less testosterone. So women think that, lifting heavy or putting on muscle mass causes us to bulk up, or we're never going to get the same muscle mass as men do, is another statement that I want to make very clear. It's a little bit more off topic, but I mean, the way that they train is going to be different. But if you did train similar to men, you still won't gain the muscle mass that they do. So that's something to also keep in mind when you think about testosterone levels.
Unless you're taking like a bunch of testosterone supplements, right?
Unless you're roided out.
Unless you're roided out, which I'm pretty sure none of us in here are doing. Fantastic. I also want to touch in deep on this topic too, because with our hormonal levels, right? And I love how you brought up that comparisonitis, not just between like other women, but especially between women and men. I had a gynecologist one time try to get me on the NuvaRing, and she said, well, it's basically your opportunity to compete with men because it's going to, give you more level hormonal levels. I was like, I'm not trying to compete with men. I'm just trying to like feel good in my body without chemicals and fake hormones. But thank you. But I thought it was so interesting. It was funny to me because, to each their own. Everyone, your body is your own, and make your own decisions. 100% fully support that. And so if you are taking hormonal supplements, like, you do you, boo. But I, on the other hand, am definitely more of the natural route. And what I have found is that when I line up, when I have figured out how to align with my body's own natural inner rhythms, and I'm not trying to like give it a bunch of external synthetic hormones or things like that, it's so much easier. I just have to say, like, trying to become something that I'm biologically not would be a really difficult process. And so, for instance, anyone who is going through like a gender transition, it's hard, that. And like, that's your choice, and I support you in making that decision. But we're talking specifically about living in these bodies, born as females, still females, and recognizing that our hormonal levels are different in so many different capacities than male bodies. And that we can actually leverage that. It can be a superpower, because the thing is, when we try to work in the same way and in the same rhythms in this really linear fashion as men, we don't get as much done. We don't do our best work because we're fighting against our biology. So when we're lining up with, okay, where are these natural hormonal levels at, or if they're imbalanced, right? If they're wonky, how can I support them? Which we're going to talk about next. That I have found has been the easiest way to not just get more done in the time that we are focused on working, right? So we can actually work fewer hours than men, but we can get a lot more done because we see big picture, because we've had time to do this processing and get a lot clearer on our vision, right? Through the hormonal cycle. So I think that having naturally lower testosterone levels is actually a superpower. And to keep those testosterone levels at a good, like healthy level, Sam's recommendation of like doing some weight training can be so amazing to just be sure that, because a lot of women do have lower testosterone than is healthy.
Mhm.
And a lot of women have more estrogen than is healthy, right? That's a very common imbalance. So I love that you brought this up, Sam, of the weight training, and that doesn't mean that you're going to like bulk up, although you can if you really want to go for it, but that just the weight training itself can be an amazing um, addition to balancing our hormonal levels. So the second thing that we really want to talk about is estrogen and serotonin levels. So hormones again. Hormones. High five for hormones.
Yeah.
um, so throughout our hormonal cycle, throughout our monthly cycle, if you are menstruating, and if you're, postmenopausal, then you also still have a hormonal cycle. It just looks a little different. But estrogen levels are going to be fluctuating at different times of the month. And estrogen is also linked to our serotonin levels, right? So we typically find, although the data is not super clear, like our hormones are so confusing to science. I'll just put it that way. Women's hormones are really confusing to science, and I think a piece of it is that there are so many environmental factors and emotional uh, factors like stress levels, things like that. There's so many things, and then also our eating habits that can mess with our hormonal levels, that testing one group of women without recognizing the ways that all of these things intermingle is just completely ridiculous, and they're not going to find out anything. So with that being said, though, our estrogen levels and our serotonin levels are fluctuating throughout the month. So if you've ever noticed how when you're about to get your period, your mood is typically a little bit lower, right? Your body is getting ready to go into more of an internal processing, right? So a way to use this to your advantage with your work and your career is during that time, all of those big ideas, all of these things that we see around us, really allowing them to permeate right inside of our being, and to plant all of these different seeds without any attachment to which seeds are going to sprout. Because after we come out of that menstruation phase, that's when we start to see, okay, all these different ideas, all these thoughts I had, all of these crazy wild things that were going through me, all these serious conversations that I wanted to have, but I stopped myself because I was menstruating and I didn't know yet which things were actually true for me. Right. And also, I had no
Mhm.
filter, which again, superpower, but wield that power responsibly. So, coming out of that, though, definitely having more clarity of vision. Right. So, this is a way that our hormones can be a superpower, and we can follow that cyclical rhythm. Um, and one way to, because for most women, these hormonal levels are out of balance. So we do have normal fluctuations, but most people are experiencing this because most women have no idea how to take care of their blood sugar levels on a day-to-day basis and have a healthy metabolism. And these two things are interlinked with our hormonal levels remaining as balanced as possible and as predictable as possible, so that we can actually tap into the energy of a certain time of the month or the year for us. So definitely focusing on balancing your blood sugar and your metabolism with eating habits that specifically nourish your hormones and your female physiology. Sam, I'd love to hear from you. Let's go to point number 3, the third reason why burnout is
Yeah.
inevitable.
Okay, so we have point 3 here. The female brain is wired to survive by pleasing everyone. So constant pressure on us is going to leave us feeling like we are just not good enough. I have been there, I felt it, and this is something that we have just been wired from the hunter and gatherer stage uh, thousands of years ago. So uh, not feeling good enough is going to push us into a state where we get into a people pleasing state. Sometimes this might not be for you, but this is typically like women do deal with this a little bit more than men do. So being in that people pleasing state is back to comparison state, and you have to get to a point where you are letting go of this perfect person that you are trying to be. So this fake woman who can run an entire company, raise her kids, not have any help at all. She's not a real person. She doesn't exist. And also just getting really, really clear on that. So start delegating, those tasks to other people and being okay with that. So you don't have to feel bad asking for help. And this is something that I personally struggle with a ton. um, I hate asking for help. I always feel like I'm a burden on people and I want to do everything myself. And when things start to go wrong, then I'm in the people pleasing mode. So I switch from don't help me to I just want to people please. And then these two toxic little energies keep like they don't serve me well. They don't get anything done. So letting go of the perfect person, asking for help, delegating tasks is it's okay. And it's only going to optimize you. It's only going to optimize your business, your health, your mindset, everything. So keeping those things in mind is what I want to touch on.
Love it. Yeah, my number one thing for this, this third reason, like I love how you said we're literally, our brain is wired to please everybody around us in order to survive. It's literally just our reptilian brain, our subconscious mind, how we go. And we do have to rewire it. And it does take some freaking work and it's a journey. And so like my number one thing has been put on your own mask first, fill your own cup first, right? Which is so counterintuitive to the way that most of us have been brought up to operate, right? The way we've been programmed to operate is to do something for ourselves first that's going to nourish us so that then we have the energy, we have more energy and more focus, right, to do these things. But I love what Sam was saying, where it's like, we can't do everything. We can, but it'll kill us. Like we absolutely can. It's possible. And we're going to just run our health to the ground. And we're not going to be able to enjoy any of the fruits of our labor because we'll be sick as a dog. So I think, as we think about what is an ideal, which is where we can create the success and impact that we want, and that we can bring in a team of people to help create that success and impact, and that we can actually create systems so that we trust those people, right, to do these things that we've set out to do. And how we balance that is by having the health and the energy to actually enjoy everything that we're creating, to have the, all that time freedom, all of that financial freedom that you're creating, to actually like go out and take a vacation, to actually do things that you love, go to the theater, etc. Spend quality time with your family and your loved ones, right? Rather than getting entirely lost in our business, where it's like when we're done, it's like, okay, we put our kid to bed and that's what we got done for our family that day. We put our kids to bed, which, by the way, if that's all you've done today, like high five, you did something. Absolutely. And, I know that you want to be able to have even more of an experience with your family than just that. So with that being said, are we ready for number 4?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So the fourth reason why in this society burnout is inevitable for women is that we literally notice and feel everything. And we have been taught that that is a weakness, when in fact, it is a superpower. Because here's the thing. When a man is like he's like focused on like having a job and providing for his family, whereas you're like, how about this bigger picture where we also get to spend quality time together, and where you also aren't working all of the time, but you're working like half that time, and then like you also get to do fun things. And I know from personal experience, because I was married to a man who was like this, and he was a super hard worker, and he would literally just martyr himself for the survival and the benefit of the family unit, which wasn't necessarily, from my perspective, what would be like a healthy family setting. Um, but you know, that was what he knew to do, and what the programming he was living out at that time. And so as women, though, especially around our cycles, we pick up on every single detail, right? So I don't know if you've ever seen those like new moon, set your intentions. Don't set intentions at the new moon, at the dark moon. Don't do it. The new moon, they call it the new moon, it's actually the dark moon. So when you can't see the moon because it's dark, that is like dark soil. That is a time where you plant seeds. Sure, you plant intentions, but don't attach to any of them, because you do not know which ones are going to sprout, right? When the new moon, that waxing crescent starts to happen, which for us is after we are done bleeding, that's when, right, you get that clarity back. You start to get energy back. You have all of these ideas and you're like, oh, I feel like I know now the direction. Whereas when you were going into the red tent, into menstruation, you were like, okay, lots of things happening inside of me right now. But that is a superpower, right? A lot of times that can make us feel weak. But in reality, we're able to see so many things. We're able to feel so many things. We're able to empathize. And I'm not saying men can't do that. They absolutely can. Just saying that our particular hormonal levels and the energy that comes with that has literally given us like that extra boost there. Whereas men need a little more training usually. It just like comes with us. It just comes with our bodies. We, as one man put it to me some couple years ago, basically men go on vision quests where they don't eat and they go out into the woods and they're alone for like days or weeks, right? Because they don't menstruate. We have our own vision quests once a month for like half our lives or a third of our lives, right? That is part of the beauty and the superpower of having a female body, is literally we notice everything, we feel everything, and that we can use that to our advantage. So one practice, right? Because we can see so many things happening, because we can feel everything, because we can also attach to interpretations and stories of all of those things that may or may not be actually true for other people, or, you know, what levels of true they are. Practicing letting go of attachments to any stories all the time, daily habit. When you see stories coming into your head, like about what another person thinks or what another person's life is like, that comparisonitis, right? Or you think about this, whether you're building your business and you're thinking about all of the ways that you could be scaling it, where you're like, okay, I could go this direction, I could go that direction, I could go there, or any other big changes that you're making, and you can kind of see all possibilities. Yeah, letting go of attachment to any of those stories and feeling into your body. Okay, once you have maybe more of a solid, like clear direction after you know, maybe come out of menstruation, and focusing on what is the one thing that I can do that can move everything else forward. What is the one thing I can do today? 50 billion things, and we might get like 15 of them done. But if you put the three main pieces, main things, and all the other stuff, like whatever happens, happens, but you focus on just a few things, or even just one thing each day, right? That all of that chatter in our heads, right? And just letting go of all of the outcomes of everything else. Okay, I'm focusing right here. This one thing, which is going to impact a bunch of other things and help move everything forward, right? So we can think strategically. And so using our ability to see everything as our superpower. Yeah, it's great to have you all. Um, that's all for today, and we will see you soon.
Yay!
Bye.